afternoon, not morning. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ben Thorpe with Farm Equipment Magazine. Welcome to our latest webinar in conjunction with DIS. And today's presenter is Udi Naamani, who is a product manager with DIS. And before he gets started, I just want to point out two quick things. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll notice that there is a Q&A icon on the control panel. You can click there during the presentation anytime to submit questions. And then at the end of the presentation, if we have the time for it, we'll answer as many questions as we can. And I wanted to also let everybody know we're recording the webinar and we'll have a replay of it available on the website for everybody who registered. And that is all that I have to cover. And so, Udi, I will let you take it away.
Thank you very much, Ben, and thank you everybody for your participation and allow me to go through this topic. Welcome to Show Me the Data webinar of today, where we'll try and discuss a little bit how may you use analytics to enhance decision making, and what does it take. My name, as was said, is Udi Naamani. I am a product manager with DIS Corporation. Currently, I am working on the DIS Analytics product, and I provided here my email address. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate later on after the seminar to shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to address whether it is specifically to our products or just generic about analytics. In my background, I have a little bit of a background, academic background, a few years at the University of Michigan. I have some entrepreneurial background with my last startup being a company called FusePoint Ltd., which sent me into some experience with larger companies like Roush and Ford, dealing a lot, in all these cases, dealing a lot with data analytics, as you can understand, in the area of autonomous vehicles, right? Data is king and highly challenging. As for today, we'll try and discuss use of analytics for actions, why analytics is for actions. And at the end of this presentation, I'll try and show you navigating data sets so you can interpret your data through visual format, compare performance, dissect trends, and assess and improve the value of business assets, whether they are business assets like parts that the dealership has, or they might be people like technicians, for example. And for that, I will start with the first. Let's start at the beginning, start with A so we can move into the Z. And the first, it all starts with, why am I using a dealer management system? And if you try, at least as I did, try to dissect it and bring it to something very simple, the core things, I believe there are two purposes for that. One of them is on the side of the productivity. The dealer management system helps you with the digital conversion. You get rid of the paper. Now the whole process is in the software. The software helps you, different employees, to move through the process to create a consistent process that increase everybody's productivity. Been doing that since DMSs came into the equipment dealers world. The other real issue, other real thing that you want to get out of using a DMS is make a decision, make the right decision, make decisions so you can take actions, so you can continuously improve, increase your profitability, and get the best practices. But you got to be able to take actions as you go. And that is the topic. That is the reason. That is the value that we would like to cover today. If you look into the path to value, right? We start with data. We go through some reports, some analytics, which leads us to decision, leads the actions, and the actions create the value. This is like your domino effect in here. And I'll try and start from the beginning and go through and explain and show a little bit of each one of them. So the first question that I keep from time to time I hear is, do we have data? And my answer to you based on my experience is, if you use a DMS, you have data. You have a lot of data because, as I said before, the DMS leads you into a paperless process, which basically generates data because everybody just pours the data into it. And then I hear the concern, oh, I have bad data. My data is bad data. My response to that in general is, the worst data is no data. Other than that, even bad data is data that we can claim. So if you have data, even if it's not perfect and not everything is great, we can fix it. And the nice thing about it is, once you start fixing your data, you fix your processes. And when you fix your processes, you improve your productivity and you improve your profitability at the same time. So now you have the data. The question is, how do we use the data to drive these actions so we can get to the value? I want to say that in order to use the data to drive actions, you need to measure the data. Not my idea. You can see I took it from other people here. But the saying is, what gets measured gets managed. And there is a lot of truth behind it. And it's very intuitive and can be understood. Got to measure the data. So how do we measure, right? How do we get to measure so we can get to do the rest of the things? There are two mechanisms, as I showed you also with the domino pieces. There are two elements that people use to try and measure. One of them is reports, and the other one is analytics. And I would encourage you to, at least in my mind, I separate between the two. There are reports, there are analytics, they are used for different purposes. Reports, when we do reports, we're looking into the results and what happened, right? The day I issue the report, that's already a history. When we are looking into analytics, we're talking about why and how things are happening right now as they go, right? It keeps going. There's no point in time where I freeze it and I create a report. When you look into reporting, it's all about presentation of the data in a way that you wish your whoever you share this report with to understand it, right? So it's just, you just organize the data in a certain way that you want. When you look into analytics, it's more about how do I enable analysis, interpretation of the data, understanding of what's behind the data. I'm not taking a subset of the data and try and arrange it. I'm looking at a large set of data. On the reporting side, the real purpose and the real value of our report is to track data at periodic intervals, right? Once a month, I issue this report. Once every 6 months, I issue this report. And we usually doing it at a fairly high level because the page can contain only so much data. So we're doing it at a fairly high level. With analytics, the purpose is to find out the insights so I can cover what is the root sources of a problem so I can use it to make a decision and take an action. And for that, I'm looking into larger amounts of data. I need to be able to look into larger amounts of data to do that. So two things that allow you to measure, but in a very different way. And if you want to be on a way really to decision making, analytics gives you a significant better way. However, analytics is a little bit newer. So for a lot of people that are using DMSs, what you try to do is use reports in order to do that. And what happens is, a lot of people that I work with, tell me, and that may apply to you also, that extracting the data that I want, building this Excel spreadsheet, or try and build some report on top of the Excel, or create report in any other way, that consumes a lot of time. And if that is your experience, as I said before, don't think that you are alone. I keep hearing it all the time. I think it is because you're trying to use the report mechanism to do what analytics need to do. You need the right tool for the job, and that is analytics, because it's a little bit, because it's significantly, I shouldn't say little bit, but it's significantly different in the way that it works. When you look into analytics, when it comes to equipment dealers, there are a few things that I say, I think, and I would have you consider and keep in mind. One of them is you're doing analytics, business intelligence. One class of thought is, let's give business analytics to every employee so they can go and they can do whatever their stuff, or let's build ourselves some business intelligence dashboards and whatever. My recommendation is you want to stay focused. You're not in the business of analytics. You don't really care about that. What you really need is the mechanism and the tool to see the data that you need to see and stay focused on selling and servicing equipment. You don't really want to give every employee can do whatever they want, because then you're going back to the Excel problem. It's the same thing. Everybody is going to do whatever they want. All kinds of dashboards. You're going to be swimming in all kinds of dashboards, and you'll find yourself that you're spending the same amount of time, but right now on a different thing. Another thing to consider is the data at the DMSs is fairly complex. If you want to go and extract data, those of you that are doing it today, whichever DMS you're using, it is fairly complex and it's fairly time consuming to try and understand which is the right field for me to take, which is the right parameter, how do I get it organized in a best way for analytics. And I'm separating it here from report, right? To get it out and put it as a report, say, okay, these are the columns, that's one thing. But to put it into analytics, where I have to jump from one view to another view in order for me to do the investigations, as I will show next, then it becomes something to consider. It's sometimes not that easy. The other thing is, if you start creating all kinds of reports that are independent, right? There's a price to be paid and something that you lose. When you use like reports in a DMS, right? You rely on the community, right? The whole community moves it forward. These are the reports. It's the same reason, the same rationale that you go into a group of 20, right? If you find for yourself the analytics that gives you the final solution, then, these are the dashboards that I need, and here it is, I can start using them, and they are based on the best of class, that will bring you back to the first comment that I made and will allow you to stay focused, and then you know that you have it, you're looking at it, and it will keep evolving, because all this stuff is rarely a one-time job. You create something, create one of those analysis, and then 6 months down the road, the best practice changes and you need to change it. So just a few items to consider as you are moving into analytics. And with that, I'll jump into the analytics and say, okay, what's in analytics? If you are going to do analytics, or choose something, a tool to do analytics, or start using it, what are the different elements that you are looking? What are the different considerations to make? The first one, and I spoke about it a little bit before when I mentioned measure, right? Our insight and metrics. And you need to be able to say, okay, what is the insight I'm looking for? What is, and that's normally the number as we show here. Am I looking, I want to see my gross profit. I want to control my gross profit. I want to control my billing efficiency. I want to control my turn rate or my net profit as the different examples that you see here. And then the question that I keep hearing is, okay, what should I measure? And my best answer to you is measure what matters. What matters to you, what matters in the equipment dealer world. Measure what matters. Don't try necessarily and measure everything, because you have high risk of getting lost. You won't be able to share it throughout all the people in the dealership, or you're going to run into a situation where different people look at different results and so on. Just measure what matters. The other element of analytics is the ability to compare and to look into trend. And in this case, I look into a trend as a comparison, but over time. But important thing is all the time to be able to compare. Analytics allows you to compare really, really fast, really, really efficiently. I provided here a few examples where you can see, okay, I can compare between my different locations the metrics that I'm looking into, right? Really quick, I get the comparison. You can see the comparison of the trend, right? If you take one of those colors, you can see how I can compare from month to month the evolution of this. Or I can compare between the years, right? Really fast, right? It's really fast right there in your face, right? It's easy for us to see that the year that is orange here is different than the other two, right? Really fast to do that comparison. This is another way of doing comparison. And analytics should allow you, whatever analytics you're looking into, should allow you to allow you multiple types, a lot of types, or it should allow you a lot of types to compare from in different ways. And the question that you're running is always, okay, so what do I compare? You don't have to compare everything all the time. You need to compare everything that is relevant to what you're looking into. If you're looking at a certain metrics, compare what's relevant to it. You don't have to compare everything. Normally, quite often, the types of comparison that you want to do is you want to do comparison over time. You want to do comparison between branches. By the word branch, I mean some of you will call them different locations, different stores, whatever the term might be for you. Compare between different people. That might be, for example, technicians, right? Compare between different technicians that you might have, or compare between different point of sales people that you have. Compare between different pieces of equipment or between different manufacturers of the equipment when it comes relevant to you, right? In places where it's relevant to you. Another form of comparison is compare against budget, right? When you compare against budget, you basically you compare your performance against your plan, or you compare your performance against the goals that you set. And now you have goals and you can see how you get to it. Another form of a budget might be benchmarks, right? You can set different benchmarks and see if you are over or under your benchmark. The next element of analytics is the exceptions. The exceptions are really important in analytics. You need to be able, you better, I don't know if you need to, but it's going to work much better for you if you can find and see clearly the exceptions. If you can see the exceptions, that means you can act on them, right? You can go and say, okay, if this is the exceptions, what do I do to fix it? Or what do I do to bring everybody else to that, right? Because now I learned from this exception that it's possible. And that normally is going to get you, from what I could see so far, the fastest or the easiest return on investment, right? So if you're looking, for example, as we show here in this example, if you're looking into inventory and I can see in the exception, oh, This inventory hasn't moved in 12 months. It becomes really easy and fast to go pick it up and send it back because it just sits here and we don't need that, and we can recoup this investment, right? For example, and very quick way to act and get the return on investment. Another element that I believe is critical to assess and to understand is the ability to drill through. I see, as you see here in the example, I see the number. What does it mean? What does it mean? Let's go through some comparison and let's understand. What does it mean? Let's look into what is the data. Let's drill through to the data behind this comparison. Why is that in the place that it is? Let's find in this data what is the exception, and then drill all the way through to the document and see this is the reason, right? At the end of the day, when I'm being asked, right, how deep should I go? How much should I keep going? I think one of the ways for you to look into it, and that's again where it's relevant, not always it's relevant, but where it's relevant, get to the document. It's a single source of truth. That's what they did. That's what the technician clocked. That's what we build. Even if it's different, this is what it is, because that's what's written at the end of the day on this document. So if you can get to the document, it's always a great thing. But if you can drill through, that allows you now to ask the questions and start answering the questions. The next piece is slice, sort, and export. Right? Be able to slice and sort the data at all the time. And because it will help you answer the question that you have in mind, right? It will help you figure out what should I do? What should I do? Where is the problem? Where the problem may lie, right? You have to be able to slice and sort. And quite often, in order to take the action, you want to be able to export. Here are all my parts that don't have a bin. Here is the list. Take it and go fix it. Or here are all my work orders that are in progress that have this one condition that I have to fix. Here are all 10 of them. Take them and fix them, right? So I can do the export. I found that it has a value. The other element of analytics is to think about, as you think about it, is that environment, that analytics gives you the right data sets. I come originally a few years back, as I said, from the automotive world. And when we started that, the common knowledge was get all the data that we can, because you do need that at some point in time. But to solve a problem, what you need really is a data set in the right schema so I can do what analytics wants to do, right? If it's just a data set and it's just a table, that's not good enough. You cannot do all this drill through. You cannot go through all this slicing correctly. You need to have it. It's another component for you to look into of getting all these schemas and all this data set. And if you look into those elements, right, the purpose of all this stuff, as you look at it and you understand the analytics, what's behind it and what the different elements is, it's only as good as it can, if it can lead you to decisions and actions that make difference. If not, then it's just a report, right? And you go back to the world of report. What you want to be able is to have the analytics that allows you to say, okay, this is the action that I need to do. Not just this is what happened, but why is it happening and what should I do? You want to lead it to the actions. And with that, I'll try and take you a little bit into examples. First, to show you, okay, so everything that I saw, everything that I said, how does it come to life? How does it look in a live situation? And for that, I'll just choose here one example. And here, this is just an example of a dashboard that exists. Let me just move this a little bit so I can make it bigger so everybody can see, right? And here, as I told you, right, the first element is look at all the insights right away, right? These are my total sales. This is my total cost. At this point in time, I'm looking at the gross profit, right? So I'm looking into your general ledger data. This is total cost. This is the total sales, the total cost, the gross profit. That's how they're doing against my benchmark. Green is good, red is not good, right? So right away I look into that, and then I come back and I ask total sales for what period? Well, when you come to analytics, right? If I come back here and I say, okay, I want to see it, I can look at it here in the history. That's how it was for 2022. But what if I want to see it year to date, right? It's that fast to see it year to date. But what if I wanted to see it on a quarter to date, right? It's that fast. And you can see everything here is going to change. So I don't have to go and create multiple reports and set them all up to say what it is. I can see it as it is now. And my numbers here, because analytics is connected to the data vessels of, let's say, the systems that we're looking into, would it be a DMS or any other systems, and it keeps updating it. My general ledger here is correct and accurate to everything that was posted at the Sorry, I'm told that my screen stopped showing. So I'll go back to show it. Can you see it now? I'll try and share it again. Can you see me now? Can you see now my can you see now my actually my analytics? Okay, so I'll go from here. I apologize for that to the group. Obviously, you can see it now. So I was talking about the total sales. I was talking about the total cost. You can see it right away. These are your insights. And then you're going to come back and you're going to say, okay, but for what date that is? And you can very quickly, right, select, I want to see year to date, or if I wanted to see a quarter to date, and so on and so forth. And as you understand, and you can see all the numbers are adjusting, and I don't have to create multiple reports in order to get to all this, information. And that's where the sorting and the filtering comes very powerful on the way for you to understand how to act. What does the data mean, and what action should I take? Let's we reset that quickly. So we are looking again at all the data, and then the issue of comparison. Right here is one example of comparison where I can compare over time. Right, I can see what happened in all these years. And in this case, it comes smaller, but we can always go and put it bigger. Right? And it's very easy becomes to understand behind these numbers, because we're doing comparison between sales and cost and over time. Now I can see actually our gross margin is improving in the last 3 years, right? Really simple to see. Much harder to try and get that out of a report because I have to create a specific report for that and a specific calculation, and it's going to address only that issue. Or if I wanted to compare between February of 2023 and February of 2022 and February of 2021, it's really fast and really easy in order to try and figure out what am I looking for, what do I need to take. Take another example here of trying to take actions in comparison, and I spoke about that a little bit about the budget, right? If you look here at the year 2021, and I tell you that each one of those columns is the difference between the sales and the budget, you say, hey, I'm doing great. I'm always over the budget. But that's because you didn't set any budget in this year. That's what the dealership didn't set. When you do set a budget, suddenly it starts looking like that. And now you start getting the value, right? Because now you start asking the question. I understand that we have this kind of gross profit, and it's great. But in the month of March, we were below our number that we set. Why is that, right? And select the month and start digging in, right? This is the month that was below. And why is that? And that's what each one of our departments did during this month. And these are the accounts that it went into for that specific month. Okay, these are the sales and the cost in the month of March, right? And if I come back and I say, hey, I sold 631,000 for a budget of 516 in the month of March, why is that? Then comes in the drill through. Right? So now I'm drilling through and I go back and I say, okay, what happened here? These are the different customers. These are all the transactions that they did. Go down to the level of transactions in the month of March. Right? And now you can keep doing it and keep asking. You want to be able to keep asking the questions, all the relevant questions to help you find the answer. If I'm looking at a customer, this customer contributed, but what about this customer? What is he doing, right? I want to see everything about this customer. So cut me all the data to be able to understand. This customer had $40,000, but in a single transaction. He just bought a new piece of equipment. So that lets you understand quickly how to go through. Let me bring back let's do it the right way here. Take that away. And that is kind of like the example of how these elements come into play in 4 levels, right, of dashboards. What is my metrics? What am I measure? I need to see it. Visualize to see the metrics, to understand what is meaningful for me to see behind the numbers. Slice the data and see the data. So I cannot say, I don't believe it. That's wrong. This data is wrong. See the data. And if it's wrong, awesome. Now we have an opportunity to go and fix it. But we can see the data. We can slice the data. And the 4th element is start mining into the data. So that's kind of how it all comes together. Now, let me take you a little bit through where we started, where I said that I'm going to try and end. And a little bit of navigating through data sets to try and then use visual formats to understand what's going on. Let me give you another practical or true example. And in that, let's look, for example, you can see here all the different data sets that I have. Right? So I can sort and I can say, okay, am I interested in account receivables? That is a specific data set. Am I interested in the tech efficiency? That's a specific data set, right? I'm looking only into the closed work orders. If I look at the work in progress, I'm looking only into the open work orders, right? So I sort really quickly between the data sets so I don't have to deal with huge amounts of data. They are huge anyway, but I don't have to deal with data oceans. I can deal with what we call data lakes in there, a little bit smaller. And here I'm looking into the account receivables. Now you already see how it works, right? It's that simple. These are my insights. That's what I see right away. And just from the pictures, right, I can understand this is my aging. This is the amount of dollars that I have coming to be overdue. This is the amount of dollars that past the overdue, right, by day, by 2 days, by 3 days, by 4 days, and so on, all the way down to 60 days, right? So right away, so get to the right data set that you are looking into and immediately get the friendly visualization so you can understand what's behind it. I have this amount in receivables, but what does it mean? And from here, continue drilling, right? Continue going through to try and understand, right? What is coming? What is coming my way? These are all the customers. These are all the transactions that are coming my way. What's for this customer? Okay, that's what this customer has, and so on. Compare performance and dissect trends to identify actions to be taken, right? Let me go back and show you an example for that. Let's take, for example, tech efficiency that I have here. Let's look at my tech efficiency, and I can very quickly see, okay, this is my efficiency. This is my efficiency per technician. How is it on the trend, right? That's the trend of our dealership. But I want to see it only for the year 2023. So how are we doing year to date? Year to date, we're going down. Our efficiency is trending down. More than that, the data science says that it's going down so consistently that the data science feels confident that you're going down, and you can see the gray is very narrow, right? To tell you, oh, high confidence you're going down. But why? Is it location D that contributes to that? Well, they're close to 100%, so they're probably not the case. Is it E that contributes to that? Well, they are well over 100, so they're probably not it. But if I look at F, well, F is going down, and they are low. So maybe it's F. So let's go back here, and let's say, okay, I want to look into F to say, okay, what's going on with F, right? And these are the technicians of F, and that's where they are. And most likely, I should be looking into that technician. And if I'll go, again, if I have the ability to drill through now, I can go and I can say, okay, what is this technician did? What did he do in this year, right? What is he doing? These are all the work orders that he did. Which ones are the exceptions? These are the exceptions, right? And so on and so forth. Start drilling to find to allocate the problem that you might have. Assess and improve the value of the business assets. One aspect of that is, as I just showed you, right? If I can get all my techs, or if you can get, I'm not in the dealership, but if you could get all your techs to be on a higher efficiency, right? The value, if you think about your technician as a business asset, you just increase the value of your business asset significantly. It's no different to your salesperson. It's no different to your point of sales person. If you look into those assets, you can also look into the assets in perspective of a different one. Let's say from parts inventory, right? This is what you have in your inventory. That's part of your assets. You can do it inventory of all goods. You can do it on the inventory of parts. I'm giving you here the inventory of the parts, right? And we can improve it really fast. This is the amount of pieces that haven't been sold. I'll change it here. Haven't been sold for 12 months. I haven't sold this for 12 months. They're sitting there. How much is it? That's how much it is, right? That's how much I have. What does it mean, right? Why is that? That's what it is. These are all the parts that I haven't sold. As you can see here, I last sold it 6 months ago. That's how much I have available and on hand. These are the different vendors that it's coming from. I want to see only my parts that I haven't sold for the last 6 months. for Kubota. That's what they are. And they are located in these different branches that I have, right? And if I wanted to go back and say, okay, show me just branch D, okay, Kubota in branch D, that's what it is. Let's export that if that is the case, and let's tell them to go start putting it on the scheme because we want to return them. Maybe that's not the criteria, but I'm just giving it as an example of how you can convert it to a very quick action. So very simple how suddenly, if you're using analytics to do it, separated from reports, and you have the right elements, now you can take actions and all this stuff. So have the right KPIs, have the analytics elements that are needed, ask the right questions, right? Ask yourself, be inquisitive, right? And ask the questions on how to do it so you can find the targeted actions to take, because they are going to lead you to meaningful results. Going back to the path for value, we started from the data. We end up with taking the actions, which is going to bring you the value. We just participated in a meeting with users that said, for example, on the tech efficiency, once they were able to look into the tech efficiency, share it with their service manager, share it with their technician, giving everybody the incentive to know, and then it becomes more like a video game and the incentive to go and improve it. Within 2 months, they saw 2-digit percentage improvement on their efficiency, which is significant to the bottom line, because they could see all the stuff. They could take the decision, make the actions to help the technician improve their efficiency, and the value came really rapidly. With that, I'm going to move to any questions that you might have. And I want to also say, if you want a more complete demonstration specifically of DIS analytics, or if you have any questions about analytics in general for equipment dealers that I may be able to help, you have here my email. Please reach out and I'll be happy to respond.
Thank you very much, Udi. And we do have, well, I had some questions actually that I wanted to ask. One of which is that understanding these dashboards can be a little difficult. Do you have anything to say about how they might become easier to understand?
With these dashboards, from time to time, I think what you will find once you go there is a change, right, in thinking, right? It's a little bit a change in thinking. People that are used to look into a report that was issued yesterday, and it's true for the last month, and now they say, okay, how do I fix it? But it's already passed. Suddenly you have to change your mindset and your thinking, because you're looking at it every day. You fix it because you want to be able to see at the end of the month the right thing. Fix it today so you can see the right thing at the end of the month. So there is a little bit mind shift in here, and I think that is the most challenging piece of it. The complexity of the dashboard themselves is very easy. What I find is, for most people, very easy. It's very intuitive. It's very straightforward. There's no way to break it. There's no way to make it fail. You just have to, the main thing to learn is, how do I ask my questions? How do I navigate what we call my data story? And we find that anybody in the dealership, once they are willing to put their mind into it, and they're willing to change a little bit the approach and look into things proactively, it becomes very simple.
Okay. Something else that I had wanted to ask, if I was a dealer, I would ask, how do I get these KPIs, and do I have to build them myself?
So that goes back to my earlier point that I was trying to make. You don't have to go and invent the KPIs that you need. From my experience, for farm equipment dealers or for equipment dealers in general, the main KPIs that are going to give you 80 or 90, whatever the number is, but the majority of the percent of the value are very common. Everybody wants to know or needs to know the gross profit. Everybody needs to know the net profit. If you have a service department, you need to know your efficiency and your recovery. If you have a parts department, you need to know your turn rate. You need to know what each point of salesperson, what his productivity is. It's, for the most part, these are known. And I would say always start with this. Focus on these. Don't get confused with, oh, but I want to know only also this one element that is in the corner here, that the return on investment might be lesser. Go there after you mastered all the others. So the KPIs are fairly, find the place that gives you all these KPI. Build them myself. We at DIS took a different approach. We don't believe that it is necessarily for your benefit to sit there and build them. You build them yourself for all the reasons that I counted earlier on in the presentation. Just get them. They are ready-made. If they are used by multiple dealerships, they give you the most updated thing. It works. It's there, and you don't need to build it yourself. You can get it, and from day one, start making the value, right? You don't have to spend 6 months or 7 months or a year in developing all kinds of dashboards.
Okay. And how would you recommend dealers learn how to ask the right questions?
Yeah, that's as I said before, as I hinted before, but that is kind of like the only challenge that is there is you look at the data and you need to really be driven to find, okay, what actions should I take to fix it? Where is the problem? Where is the problem? And the best way of doing it is just by practicing it. What you want to have is you want to have a set of analytics dashboards, as I showed you, that are consistent in the mechanism of doing that, right? I have this mechanism, I have that mechanism, right? I look at the charts, I can select on the charts to see how it compares, I can select on the filters so I can slice my data, I can drill through, right? Certain mechanisms, they repeat themselves, and they are, once I learn to use them, it's easy. And the rest is left to kind of like the people. Once they start using it, you'll see that sooner than later, they find the question, they ask the question, why is that? And they dive in and solve the problem.
Okay. Well, I'll give this a few more seconds if any of our attendees have any last minute questions they would like to ask with the Q&A portion at the bottom. But Udi, where could attendees go if they wanted to learn more about the programs we've looked at?
Yeah, please either you go to discorp.com or send me an email to this address, and I will direct you from there.
All right. I don't think we have any more questions. Any wrap-up thoughts, Udi? Anything we haven't covered?
I am good, and just wanted to thank everybody who took the time to participate for taking the time.
Okay. Well, that's going to conclude our presentation for the day. And I'd like to remind everybody that a replay will be available on the website later on. You can keep an eye on your inbox and watch for the Farm Equipment newsletters for more information on that. And so on behalf of Udi, DIS, and all of us, Farm Equipment, thank you very much for joining us today. Feel free to reach out and let us know what you thought of this event, or if there's anything you'd like us to cover in future webinars that you find interesting. Thank you, Udi, and thanks to DIS. And with that, everybody enjoy the rest of your day.